Hello, my name's Jon Sermon. I'm a church leader based in Suffolk in the UK and with ministry links with Uganda, in particular through a charity called Romans 111 Trust. And here in the UK, like so many countries, especially at the moment across the whole of Europe, we are again finding our news full of concern about the growing rates of infection with COVID-19, the possibilities of future lockdowns, France already going that way, and ever greater restrictions in an effort to bring the level of infection under control. This places us in difficult circumstances, and on top of that, there are many who find you've lost your job or been on furlough and that's coming to an end, or you've been ill yourself or had to watch over a relative, possibly been bereaved as a direct or indirect result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, the need to take appropriate precautions takes its toll. And for some people, especially with the darker evenings since the clock's changed, there's this sense of darker times ahead and things are getting even more difficult. Now, I think it's really important that we recognise that, but also look for where we can honestly and legitimately see encouragement alongside all these difficulties. At our prayer meeting this morning, one of our number raised the issue of a friend who perhaps is representative of many others in similar circumstances, having said, I'm finding it difficult to hold on to faith in these circumstances. And one of the questions that often comes with a statement like that is something along the lines of, why would God allow? And we do hear that sort of question in so many circumstances of life. We've had the other breaking news about the new level of a row in our Labour Party after an investigation into anti-Semitism. And, one of the real biggies of those sorts of questions, why would God allow the Holocaust? Why would God allow suffering? Why would God allow this coronavirus? Or allow it to have such an effect? And these are the sorts of questions we find tough, don't we? And yet, I think it's important for us to realise that a question like that implies a limited vision of who or what God might be. It almost suggests that somehow God controls our actions, and therefore we don't in any way contribute to circumstances that can be the consequence of our own actions. And if you take something like the Holocaust, you realise that a great deal of inappropriate behaviour and downright evil contributed to circumstances that made such an awful thing even possible. That wasn't God's doing. Now, of course, if we think of God like the supermaster controlling us like robots and preventing us from making our own choices, then it would be valid to ask, how could God allow that? And yet, when so much of human suffering is as a direct result of bad human behaviour, could I look at it another way, I think? And the reality is that there are promises in the Bible and everyday experiences of many people in many circumstances along the lines of, yes, there is bad happening in the world. Yes, there are bad circumstances. Yes, there's even people who behave with evil. And yet God can bring good out of those situations too. And I've recently had occasion sitting with someone who may well be close to death, and recognizing gently together that in that bad situation, God is still bringing good out of it. Whatever your bad circumstances, I mean, if you don't have any, that's wonderful. But many of us do. Whatever they are, learning to pray, seeking God, actually is helpful. And whilst that question that someone came with this morning is probably replicated by many, and there are those who have understood themselves to be Christians, being in a relationship with God, finding a struggle to maintain faith. Yet at the same time, all sorts of statistics suggest that there are people who previously were ignoring God's relevance and God's claim on our lives, actually exploring faith. If you're not yet one of those, why not try it? Try praying. Try seeking God. I pray you will be blessed.